Let's flip it over to the other side when the Lions have the ball. This Packers defense wasn't as good as it needed to be last year. The Lions offense, very explosive. We've got some injuries on both sides of the ball. David Montgomery, the Lions running back, is questionable with a thigh. He is trending toward playing along with left tackle Taylor Decker, who has an ankle injury, also listed as questionable. So that's good news for the Lions. Jair Alexander was a late in the week injury who ended up not playing against the Saints. He's questionable with a back problem. So not a ton of injuries, but enough that you could have some issues, on both sides, depending upon who ultimately suits up and plays tonight. But the key is, can they slow down the Detroit offense? Do you think this version of the Green Bay defense, where it is through 3 games, Chris, can take some of the steam out of the Detroit offense?
Of course, Jair Alexander and his presence on the field does change that defense. He's special. He's one of the best corners in the game. And then he's a guy that, you can ask to match up against Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you go, wait, we feel good about that on a 3rd and 5 or a 3rd and 7. That's where, he is special to that defense. They're still missing, their other corner, from Georgia, who they drafted in the first round. I'm blanking on his damn name, Pete. You're going to have to save me. Stokes, right? Derek Stokes, right? Where he's not out there. So they're not even at full strength in that capacity yet. But this defense, yes, it's different than last year, Mike. And the other thing I'll say, too, is, one, this defense did a pretty good job against this Lions offense last year. Think about it. It was a low-scoring Sunday night game that ended the season. And then even in that other game that, Rodgers threw 3 interceptions in that game there and all that, the Green Bay defense did a pretty good job, and that's showing kind of slowing down the Lions' attack. So Joe Barry, the defensive coordinator, has shown that he's got a pretty good feel for what Ben Johnson and company do. And Green Bay's defense at a base level is just better than last year. It is. Quay Walker at middle linebacker is a stud and a guy that's a rising star, right? We know they got Kenny Clark. The Devontae Wyatt, who they drafted 2 years ago in the first round out of Georgia, the other D tackle, he pops up a lot on film, right? Rashawn Gary, who was hurt last year and definitely wasn't there for the second matchup. He might have got hurt before the first matchup. He's arguably their best player on defense. I mean, he's a one-man wrecking crew. And he's a guy that, like Aiden Hutchinson, it's a mismatch when he's one-on-one on the outside. So there's a lot of good here with this Green Bay football team. This defense is better. They had a hard time against Atlanta, right? That has been their one negative. Last week against New Orleans, I know they were down 17-0, but people got to know the context of that. Green Bay went for it on 4th and 1 around midfield. It gave the Saints a short field to score a touchdown. They returned a punt for a kick or a punt for a touchdown. Rashid Shaheed. That is my favorite name, and I'm messing it up, right? He returned a punt. So, and then of course they held that offense in New Orleans just stone cold, couldn't do anything. So they're better. Their one flaw has been Bijan Robinson in that Falcons game, right? And that's where I'm sure Detroit's going to look at that and go, can we run the ball on them like that tonight? And I'm not sure they can. That was a lot of great runs and some cool game design plays there that kind of caught the Packers. It wasn't like a total butt whooping. So I do like this defense, Mike. Long story short there. I probably talked too much. Sorry.
Bijan Robinson creating some buzz as a rookie. Sam Laporta, the Lions tight end, off to one of the great starts any tight end has ever had in NFL history. 18 catches in 3 games. That's the most ever for any NFL tight end in his first 3 performances. He had 8 for 84 and a touchdown in the win over the Falcons on Sunday. So he's off to a great start. The prior record had been set by Keith Jackson of the Eagles. He had 17 catches in his first 3 games as a rookie for the Eagles in 1988. So Laporta beats Jackson by 1 catch, and he'll be a guy that we'll see. We'll see what he can do tonight. But a nice weapon for that offense. And they've got Jahmyr Gibbs, the 12th overall pick, who, hasn't been spectacular, but he hasn't been horrible either.
No.
Right?
No, not at all. You're right.
You're sharing time with David Montgomery, although Montgomery's been injured. They're passing the ball. They've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Josh Reynolds flashing repeatedly. And when you have this Sam Laporta who can get things done in the passing game, you've got a weapon. And remember, they had T.J. Hawkinson and traded him to the Vikings last year. Well, they may have somebody who's just as good, if not better, in Laporta moving forward.
Yeah, they knew. This is where the Lions and Brad Holmes give him credit for what he's done there, what he's done building the football team. I think we all talk about the head coach a lot, and deservedly so. But Brad Holmes, starting with the Jared Goff trade, has made some bold moves and some bold picks. And within that move in Hawkinson, what he did was he knew that the draft was deep in tight ends. And he felt confident that we're going to get one of them. And they got a really good one. Laporta was my second favorite tight end coming out in the draft. Because, the kid Dalton Kincaid, who the Bills drafted, was number one. But Laporta is like, hey, Iowa tight end. In Iowa, they're going to teach them how to block. They're kind of taught up front like an NFL tight end. There's a lot of NFL blocking schemes that go on there under head coach Ferentz. So there's that. And then he was very polished and ready to go in the pass game. So, yeah, between the way they run the football and now you got a guy like that, like we just saw in that highlight with Jared Goff, play action pass. Oh, no, we're worried about stopping the run. Oh, no, where did Laporta go? He's downfield behind us. Oh, no, and we're in trouble. So he's added a huge element to their football team. He's a hell of a player. Him and Amon-Ra St. Brown give you a lot to think about. There's not really a lot of weaknesses on this Lions offense. They can run the ball, and they haven't run it to their potential, like you said yet. They're very good in pass protection. They're creative as far as their play design and how Ben Johnson calls it. So they're the only thing that they miss, Mike, in my opinion, is like a take the top off the defense type of guy. A guy that scares you and you go, oh, wait, we got to play our safeties over the top of him, or we got to make sure we back off a little of him, right? And
coming back,
and that'll
be back in 3 weeks.
Hopefully, that's what he can supply for them, because that's about the only weakness I see on their offense right now.
And of course, that second-year receiver Jamison Williams, who had a touchdown against the Vikings in his first career game last year. He was coming off of that torn ACL, got suspended 6 games for, God forbid, sitting in the team facility and using his cell phone device to place a wager on a sport other than NFL football. You can do it outside the building. It's no big deal. You do it inside the building, it's an affront to the integrity of the game. But he'll be back after week 6. He had that 6-game suspension. So this will be a good one. I mean, we're going to do the picks later on the Joint Mega Picks podcast if my voice holds out that long. I don't know who I'm taking. I haven't known all week. Usually I have a pretty good lean by the time the day of the game comes around, especially for a Thursday night game. Chris, I have no idea where I'm going in this one.
No, I hear you there. I mean, I've certainly, whoever I pick to win, I'm not going to be picking them to win by anything substantial. I don't see that, and I, again, I think this Green Bay offense, it's close. Like, it's close to being real damn good at moments, right? Jordan Love looks comfortable. He's certainly not afraid of the moment or what it takes to gut it out and win a football game. That's for sure. We've seen that. Is it perfect yet? No, it's not. But let's also, hey, it's still early in the process. Let's see if, what they look like with a healthy Christian Watson to go along with the rest of the receiving core, because, he's a big deal. Christian Watson's rare. He can run by anybody in football. He's one of the fastest receivers in the game. And they Green Bay, where they're different under Jordan Love compared to Aaron Rodgers, you turn on the film, they're much more aggressive with their passing attack. With Rodgers, yeah, as you heard me complain a little bit. It was get the ball out, get the ball out, get the ball out. And you're like, wait, there's people open downfield. Why are we trying to get it out so quick all the time? That's not the case right now with what Green Bay does. They want to run the ball, and when they drop back to pass, they're looking for 15 and 20-yard completions. And they're a little more dangerous that way because of it. Now, they're not as efficient yet, but that'll be cool to see with if Watson's back in tonight and hitting on all cylinders and see, the total potential of this offense and what they look like on Lambeau.
Yeah, I mean, Watson showed
he's a game breaker.
As the year went on.
Right.
That he can be great. And he had that long touchdown in his hands. First offensive snap of the year in Minnesota, and I still think that game would have gone differently, and maybe the season would have gone differently for both the Packers and the Vikings if he makes that catch and ties the game at 7 early in the first quarter, or midway through the first quarter, rather, that game. So Watson has become great. They need him to be great to get the most out of Jordan Love. Romeo Doubs has been performing well. It'll be helpful to have Aaron Jones back. This Packers offense, nothing.
Two tight ends that are real good, Mike. They got two young tight ends like the Lions that you go, woo, they're impressive, right? There's a lot to like about both of these football teams. It's I think there's growth or potential for growth on both teams. And, I think they're going to be in the thick of the NFC playoff conversation throughout the year. I'd be surprised, really, honestly, if either one of them fell out of that.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.